This is Mike.
I'm Ryan, and our special guest today is
Erika Skoog.
So, I'd like to start off. I think one of the things that has the three of us in common too is our connection with the gym, which is where I met both of you. And I was wondering if you could touch a little bit about like your, I guess, just development with the gym and everything. How long you've been there, when you started, and what you've been training for, and everything.
Oh, okay. So I've been with Forever Strong for almost 6 years.
Wow.
I bought the Groupon online. Yep. I moved to town in 2014 back from being in Vancouver for about 8 years.
Is that where you're from?
No, I'm born and raised Springfield, actually just right down the street.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I was moving back. I tried a number of gyms, Planet Fitness, Court Sports, places, and they just weren't fun. And so my chiropractor told me about Forever Strong. And so I bought the Groupon and did the basic training classes, which were really hard at that point in my fitness journey. And I really enjoyed it. And then I took a little time away from the gym to have surgery, and came back towards the end of 2017. And again, started with the classes and just found myself entertained, I guess, by the other classes that were going on as I was doing the basic training classes, or the hit hurt classes was what they were called then. And so they let me try the superset class a few times. I was like, this is exactly where I want to be right now. Yeah. And so I transitioned there. And then from there, I wanted to, I started the boxing classes that they started, I think, 2018? Yeah.
Once you're on then.
And love that. Boxing's one of my favorite forms of exercise. No desire to hit anybody or be hit. Yeah. But I definitely really enjoyed the boxing as a form of athletics. And then from there, I unfortunately had to have multiple knee surgeries, and with the goal of going into powerlifting, had to do rehab and almost start from scratch, learning how to walk again.
So why the surgery? What happened to cause that?
And you said surgery twice, because just now you said knee surgery. Is that the same one you were talking about previously?
No, I had in 2017 I had bariatric surgery.
And could you explain that for people that might not know what that is?
So bariatric surgery is where it's a weight loss surgery. So it allows you to lose weight quickly and then sustain the weight loss for a longer period of time when dieting hasn't worked in the past. So prior to that, I'd done 10 years of dieting to various forms. Every program you could think of, I've done it. And I would lose weight. The most successful I had was when I was on phentermine, but unfortunately after 9 months on phentermine, I had some bad cardiac reactions.
Is that a drug?
Yeah. Gotcha. It's like meth, essentially.
Oh, wow.
It's not good. It increases your heart rate. And I was having some heart palpitation issues and had to come off that, gain the weight right back within.
How much overweight were you? Would you say?
At the time I was probably 150 pounds overweight.
Okay. What age?
Oh, I've always been overweight.
Okay.
My entire life.
Okay.
From even a child, like I remember, I think 3rd or 4th grade was the first time I realized I didn't look like all the other girls.
Can you talk about that a little bit? What is it? Genetics? Is it? Are your parents overweight? And the only reason I ask is because a lot of people tend to say that you know, it's genetics. My family was overweight. I'm curious about your childhood. Were you athletic? Were you non-athletic? How did you become overweight?
So it's kind of a loaded question for me.
As comfortably as you feel like answering.
No, it's just, it's not that it's uncomfortable. It's there's a lot of reasons why. Yeah. So first issue, I have a lot of food texture issues. Okay. So it's one thing. I didn't have the greatest diet when I was a child. It's better now. I like a lot more things than I did, but
like as far as being picky.
Yeah. And it's a texture thing. Let me tell you, I used to do wheatgrass shots all the time. They're gross, but I can do it.
Yeah.
But once it has like too much texture or lots of food mixed together, not my deal. So when I was really young, it was like the list was really short of the things I would eat. I think I was 2nd or 3rd grade before I ate any meat that wasn't a chicken nugget.
Okay.
And so That's one part of it.
Yeah.
I was super athletic. I was doing sports year round. I was doing soccer in the fall and the spring, basketball. Once I got old enough, I did volleyball. And then in the summer, I did softball.
So you were overweight, but you were fit.
Yeah.
You were healthy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I was healthy in regards to I was athletic.
Athleticism.
Yeah. Food could have been better. Bless my parents' heart. At the time, the 80s, they were told, well, don't force your children to eat food they don't like. Well, yes, but also make sure they try things.
Yeah.
I think the guidelines that are given to us by like the government or whatever else are a good chunk of bullshit. And you have to find like, anything will work for anyone, but not everything will work for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that, we know that pyramid is what I learned in elementary school.
Me too. Yeah.
That's outdated as fuck.
Yeah.
And they tried switching to like the my plate thing too.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, you gotta just really trial and error, I feel like, to find what works for you and everything.
I agree. And I think each person's food mixture, like in regards to their protein, carbs, and sugar and fat intake is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And the percentages are going to vary.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, if I eat too much protein, I have no results. But if I balance out my protein and carbs, I do a lot better.
Like with an even split?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I do 40, 40, 20.
Yeah.
And I have to keep my fat super low because if
Yeah.
I eat too much fat, I don't lose any weight whatsoever.
See, and I've gone on a different route. When I go like really low carbs and I bump my fat up, I feel like I peel up like that.
Yeah. No.
But again, like anything work for anyone,
Yeah,
not everything
yeah.
work for everyone.
I wish that would work for me because I could just eat steak all day long.
Yeah.
Well, and the metabolism, the difference between male and female, that has to play some sort of role into it also.
Yeah.
So when you go ahead,
I was just say, have you ever had your blood work done or anything like that? Because I haven't had mine done, but I'm very curious to see like, if there's certain food allergens or anything like that, where it's like, oh, I do great with chicken, but like beef sits heavy in me or something like that.
I did not, but my mom and I have the same blood type, and I think what is 90s they used to have the blood type diets, and so she would always tell me like our blood type tells us we need to eat a lot of vegetables, very little sugar, and lean meats, so like chicken or lean ground beef.
interesting.
Turkey, things like
It's
that.
probably true,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you think about it now.
Yeah, for me, when I eat less fat,
Yeah.
I do a lot better with weight loss.
Okay. So go ahead.
So, so it's athletic. No, I didn't have the greatest diet as a child. My parents tried. They used to puree vegetables and hide it in my food.
Yeah.
And all sorts of things. But I've survived. And
Did you have to deal with bullying at all? Were you overweight to the extent that you dealt with bullying?
Kids would tease you every now and then. I wouldn't necessarily say I was bullied. I went to a very small Catholic school for most of my life. I actually think, the helpers, the mom helpers that come to the room, they were the ones who picked on me the most.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, like with just comments or what?
Yeah, like just comments that I think sound innocent, but as a child, like
Condescending.
well, as a child, I was like, oh, this parent is pointing me out and I'm very different, and it's a bad different. Like it's like I should be ashamed of the way I look.
Wow.
Like I had a parent who in 5th grade, we went to Catholic school, so I can't remember, we were building gingerbread houses, and we had the candy, and everyone was eating their candy, right? And I was just getting some candy, and she's like, girls like you really should be careful on how much candy they consume. Maybe you've had enough. Don't you think?
That's kind of fucked.
Yeah, that is. It's really fucked.
I'm just like, yeah, sure.
So now you look back, you think one thing, but at that time, what
I was embarrassed.
Okay.
I was very
So it did
embarrassed.
resonate with you. I knew
that
you were being shamed.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew that girls like me meant I was not like the other girls in the class who were also getting more candy.
Yeah.
Who were skinny, and then from there I remember like girls in 8th grade teasing. You guys remember gauchos? Not gauchos. The really big pants that were like skater pants.
Hammer pants?
No, they're the skater pants.
Oh.
Starts with a J.
I don't know. The skater pants I grew up with was like skinny jeans.
No, they were like big, and they had like the big color designs.
I just remember the hammer pants, which were the hammer pants,
I
right?
kind of got 3 generations. So we're a little split between the 3 of us.
So anyways, I had a pair of those in like 8th grade. The girls in my class were in gym. We always had to change for gym, and they like grabbed my pants, and like 2 of them each got one. Like I was like a size 12 at the time. I wasn't like 18, 20. Not that that's bad, but it's just that.
Yeah.
And, these 2 girls who are size 0 get in my pants. And I'm like, look, both of us can fit in your pants. And I just remember being like, oh, haha, whatever, you guys are stupid.
Yeah.
But also being like, I don't want to be that different.
Yeah.
And then I kind of thinned out for freshman and sophomore year.
You grew into your body, so to speak. Is that what it is?
Girls do this thing, and Ellie did the same thing. I remember it's like, can I get like chubby? And then all of a sudden you go, and you just like grow 5 inches.
Yeah.
And like
my youngest is in that area right now.
And so I didn't really get teased a whole lot my freshman year. I got teased for other reasons. And then I had Ellie when I was 16.
Okay.
So gained a ton of weight.
That's something else I wanted to touch on too.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, it's okay. And then so just long history of being heavy and overweight. So
okay.
My weight has never been. I would never call myself small.
Okay. Have you ever been diagnosed as obese?
Oh yeah, all the time. That's because
but those terms are stupid though. I don't fucking
BMI
the standard.
Bullshit.
Yeah, the standard is fucked up.
I was actually doing so after your guys' initial podcast. I did some research on like BMI, obesity, and the terms, and it's really it's just a term to try to identify reasons why you may have other health conditions and to help identify whether you're healthy or not. But it's a factor in a bigger picture. Yeah, and it's not always going to be that you're unhealthy and you have a BMI of 30, right? It's like, that's one piece of it. What are the other pieces that we're looking at?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I had the surgery to help lose weight.
Was that after you had your child?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So Ellie was a freshman at that point.
Okay.
What
was that? Is that the one where they like staple down part of your stomach, or what is it?
So there's 3 different surgeries. They don't do one as much anymore, and that's the lap band. Because
is that what I was talking about?
You're talking about the sleeve.
Oh, okay.
So the sleeve, they kind of go in and staple, but they don't leave that pouch that they close off in your stomach. They just cut your stomach.
So you just have a smaller stomach.
Yeah, my stomach was after my surgery was the size of my thumb.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah, it was the size of my thumb.
How the fuck are you supposed to digest anything?
You don't. That's why you lose so much weight in the first.
But is that a long-term thing?
It just stretches out over time, right?
It does. You can recontrol it and shrink it back by doing what's called a reset diet. Mm-hmm. I've done it once. It's miserable.
Wow.
Was it like trying to overeat to try and make it grow?
No, you undereat. So you're resetting your stomach. You limit your quantities to like what you can fit in your hand.
Wow.
To get your stomach to go back down.
How does that fuel your body? Your machine as a body? Yeah. What the fuck?
So after the surgery, I had a really hard time coming back to working out. I could barely like walk. I couldn't run. I couldn't do any of that. It took me about 8 to 12 weeks to really get back to a place where I was able to work out. And at that point I could probably eat like a half a protein bar and I'd feel like so full I thought I was going to throw up.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And you lose tons of hair because you're not getting any nutrition, right? Yeah. So all you're eating is protein because you're supposed to get in a minimum of 100 grams protein. That was always my goal. The doctors say 80. I always tried to hit 100 because I felt better if I ate 100. And then you're supposed to get in your 60 ounces of water. Like those are your 2 things you focus on in a day.
Wow.
And then once you get that, if there's room for other things, and you're supposed to eat your fruits, vegetables, whole foods.
So is it basically meat and water, or like a protein bar and water?
Yeah, if I could tolerate. I couldn't tolerate meat for the first 6 weeks.
Texture?
No, I couldn't. Like
just your body
I'd eat a
functioning.
bite and it was like I'm full.
Damn.
Yeah. For like the first 6 months to a year, I'd go to the cafeteria at the hospital. Oh, sorry. And I'd get like a little tray of like pre-cooked chicken, and I'd get like an ounce. Wow. And I'd increase it from that to 4 ounces over that 6 months.
So was that surgery worth it?
Yeah.
Okay.
100% worth it. Not just the surgery, the full process. The full process is a year.
Yeah.
So they don't just let people come in and be like, come on in, have bariatric surgery, learn nothing, right? Yeah. They make you do 6 months worth of dietitian meetings and training. Then they have you weigh in. You have to lose 5% of your body weight. And part of that's so that you have loose skin for when they pump your stomach full of gas so they can do the surgery. And then you have to do the pre-surgery training. You have to go to a few other classes where they talk to you about like life after bariatric surgery. And then you have your pre-anesthesia work that you have to do.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like they're kind of gearing you up towards not just like a surgery, but a lifestyle change.
Yes. Yeah. Like you have a whole book.
That's good.
That you have to go through and learn, which it was really good because I've referred back to that book multiple times for like recipes, for meal plans, for diet, for expectations, to do my reset. I've referred back to it. it was definitely worth it.
Okay. So you said you had one knee surgery, right? You said you had two. One, because of weight?
So they were both really because of weight.
Okay.
Right. So I spent 30 plus years of my life being, you know, over 250 pounds.
Okay.
And doing active physical activity almost every single day for a majority of that time. Because even at that weight, I was very active.
Yeah.
So I was doing
and you
CrossFit.
ride bikes a lot.
I bike. I was doing CrossFit. I was doing boxing for a while up in Portland. I was always a member of a gym somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it's just wear and tear.
Yeah.
I got bad knees anyways. It runs genetics in my family. But ultimately what happened was I tore enough cartilage where I was bone on bone.
Fuck.
Yeah. In the parts of your knees where you're impact.
Yeah.
Right. So then what happens is you continue to tear, and the tear is what hurts. Where
And your meniscus? Or?
No, it's the actual cartilage between the two bones.
Got you.
Oh.
I did have a partial meniscus tear in this one, but that wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, that was old. You probably would have never." Great. But yeah, so they did what's called microfracturing, where they go with a little chisel and they poke holes in your lower and upper leg bones where your knee is.
Yeah.
And it bleeds and builds its own cartilage.
And the bone itself?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Wow.
So then I couldn't walk for 6 weeks.
Is that when you were on the scooter?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Scooter time.
Yeah. And that was how far out from competition was that?
So my first knee surgery was August 2018? No. 19.
Okay.
And then December 2020 was my second one.
Yeah. And then you competed
This last
Just-
February.
February 2022. Yeah.
Is that all you've done is the 3?
Those 3 surgeries?
No, the power meets.
I've only done one.
She's only done one. This was her first one.
you
Those
were talking about all
surgeries, the
surgeries.
surgeries were prior to that. So let's talk about powerlifting.
Yeah.
How did you, what got you to where you wanted to be a powerlifter? Just, you wanted to try something new? Because you were at FS, obviously it's a powerlifting gym.
Yeah, so
It's an everything gym.
It's an everything gym. Let's say that. It's an everything gym.
This is fucking dope.
Yep.
so like I told you in the beginning, like I got to the gym and I was like, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And I was doing the classes, and then I tried superset. I was like, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And then I'd spend my time in superset staring at the powerlifters going, that's where I want to be. Because like it looked like so much fun. And I mean, I know, Ryan, you coached me for a while in superset as well as boxing, but you know, Ryan's had to be like, hey, we're going to take that down 5 pounds. We're going to work on our form because you're not doing that right.
Yeah. Which is what coaches need to be doing.
Exactly. But it was because I was like looking over there. I was like, but she's lifting that much, so I can do that much. I'm highly competitive.
Yeah.
Unlike, you know, some people where you have to push them to be competitive, like you have to like stop me from being competitive.
That's what I was telling these guys the other day, because we have the same coach, which is Devin. I tell these guys all the time, it's like there's certain people that have to be told to go harder, but people like you and I, you're a good example. Our coach has to tell us to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Slow down. You're gonna.
I've been instructed many times that this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
If I would have just not done 5 miles on the treadmill the day before.
Yeah. Which is what I'm living right now with my leg cramp.
Well, I want to keep going on the power aspects and everything though too. So as you transition from superset towards that and everything, what did you feel was like different, other than like obviously the programming, your training and everything, but as far as how you felt like physically, mentally, emotionally, and everything like that, how was that transition?
That's a great question.
The transition's been hard because I went from superset knowing I needed to have knee surgery, and then had my first knee surgery, and then came back with the hopes of coming in and doing the powerlifting meet. I think it was the February 2021 one when I was supposed to do. And I injured myself July 2020 with my left knee. And so my path to powerlifting has been very different than I think most people, in that I've only ever worked with a coach. I've only ever worked with Devin, and we go in and out of rehab training for my knees and powerlifting training. So we have to, because my body just doesn't like year-round training. So I think this time around, after this last surgery, I've had to be more cautious. I think my biggest fear is injuring myself and not being able to do what I'm limited in now. Right. And, you know, I think as an athlete, it's nice because I have the ability to be constantly competitive with myself. That's what I like about powerlifting. I like that I'm not, yes, there's always some form of competition with other people to get a state record or do whatever, but really that's about my ability to push myself to the next level. Yeah. Right. And so that's something
previous best.
Right. And so that's something I'm trying to focus on right now in my, powerlifting and weightlifting journey is I really want to focus on getting to the next step. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's been, okay, if I want to get to the next step and I'm hurting, I need to pause mm-hmm. and not push myself farther than what my body's telling me I can go, even though I know I could physically push through the pain. Probably not a good idea.
And the trade-off there.
Yeah. And so that's been something I've had to focus on is if you want to continue to have that ability to be competitive, then you need to have the ability to stop mm-hmm. and to pause and to really think about your
future.
Your future. Yeah. Like, do you want to be able to do this in a year? Yeah. Yes, I would.
So, would you say, now going back to losing weight aspect of things, would you say that powerlifting's helped you in that?
I definitely, I was actually thinking about this the other day. Yeah. So I will have to say that healing from my first knee surgery.
Yeah.
Right. I gained a little bit of weight and I got all that off about a year after. And then right as soon as I did that, I injured myself.
Yeah.
And, I found with this last knee surgery and then coming into power is I gained weight, but I didn't lose the weight, but my shape changed.
Yeah.
And so I definitely have noticed that, like, if I look at my pictures pre-surgery, which was when I was doing a lot of cardio, superset, I'm not as muscular. I'm a lot more lean, mm-hmm. but I definitely probably had more fat to muscle.
Okay.
In regard, I wasn't like toned, and so I definitely feel like, well, my weight is up right now. I feel like I'm more toned, and I've lost weights in different ways. So I think it's really helped.
How was your experience in working with Devin? And everybody that's around FS and everything knows him and everything. Yeah. You had him on here before too.
Yeah.
Just wonder if you could touch on that.
Dev's great. He knows exactly what his clients need when they need it. Right. Mm-hmm. So some days I come in and we just talk because I'm a hot mess and I just need to talk shit out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's my own making, right? Like, why do I hurt all the time? I'm really annoyed. In reality, mm-hmm. I don't hurt all the time. Right. I hurt right now. Mm-hmm. And we need to talk through how we got to this point. And sometimes it's, him calling out like, hey, the other day I saw you up there running when we've talked about you not running. Yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't have been running. So that's how we got there, right? Yeah. Okay. And we've recovered from this before, right? So he talks you through the situations that, you don't maybe want to acknowledge, mm-hmm. right? That are barriers, and he's really good at identifying those barriers, which is nice. I really enjoy the fact that he doesn't limit his knowledge. Like, he may not know in the moment, but by the time you come for your next session, he knows. He's researched, he's done some work, he's put some time and effort into it. And I think that goes towards, the FS brand, mm-hmm. right? Which is, they're not just any gym, mm-hmm. right? It's not just, a place where there's trainers and other people and people like each other. It's a place where there are people who are working at the top of their game, who are making, the individuals who come to the gym better, who are putting in the hours and the time and the work to make it unique. Mm-hmm. And that's why people come and that's why people stay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know there's some people that have been in there that I started in summer of 18, mm-hmm. and there's people that are still in there that have been since the original building when they opened up on mm-hmm. Main Street and everything. Yeah. And that's crazy to see, because I think they opened up in 2010 or something like that. That's dope. Here we are 12 years later, and I know Tracy Richardson has been there for a while. Yeah. Bridget's been there for a while. And that's just really cool, because it's kind of like you said, it's more than just a gym, and there's that community behind it and everything too. 100%.
I mean, and it's not just that. Ellie trained with Molly, mm-hmm. right? And bless Molly's heart, she follows Ellie's social media accounts, which I love my daughter, and I want her to be able to express herself, and she has me blocked, so I don't get to see any of it. And she's 19, which is fine. And so, but Molly will call me if there's something that's concerning for her, mm-hmm. and she'll be like, "Hey, I saw this on Ellie's Instagram. Is everything okay? is Ellie okay? Did you know about this?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like Ellie's just being dramatic and posting something that she doesn't really mean. And sometimes I'm like, no, that is concerning. Thank you. Let me, reach out to her. And
that's cool.
That's some mom to mom connection.
Mom shit. Yep.
Right there. Yeah. You know, I was actually thinking about that on the way over here. Molly has spent her entire life taking care of people, right? Yeah. Like she had Reese at a young age. Like I had Ellie at a young age. And she has, her other 4 kids and then the gym, and she spends her entire life taking care of people.
Yeah. Well, before I came over here, she was in the gym training, and Brett's little daughter comes in there training.
Yeah, she's adorable.
With him, but is hanging out while he's in there. And Molly takes off her headphones and everything, sets her up with her phone so she can like watch cartoons or some shit while Molly's working out. It's like she's just a forever mom.
Oh yeah.
So let's actually talk a little bit about the female energy in that gym.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, that to me
the whole
is
power team, except I think Wayne is women.
Yeah, well, and that speaks a lot about like the real alpha female role. Powerful women, strong, very confident. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Speak on that a little bit.
I think that it's that, but I also think it's more than that. I think that it's the acceptance that's in the gym, right? Yeah. You have different people who are strong in different ways, who are good at different things, who have different personalities, and they all, for whatever reason, are able to get along, right? And to work out together and to have fun and to make it a good experience and to help train the next generation of powerlifters, right? Bringing people in, encouraging people to join the group. And I think what that is it's a comfort, right? And I think you see that as when you get new people in, they're kind of shy, kind of timid, they're kind of poking around, staring at people. And then all of a sudden, 6 months in, they're like in a class directing somebody else on how to do something, right? And it's because they've been mentored, taught, coached their way to that position. And then once you have that acceptance and you feel like you belong
and respect and
you're respected and you're treated like a human, right? Then I think you don't want to leave that and you don't want to ruin that. Like you want it forever. Yeah. But yeah, that was something when I came, I was like looking around, I was like, wow, there's a lot of women here. This is great. Because I'm used to CrossFit where it's like, 75% men who are definitely going to beat you. Like, don't even try to compete with them. And the other women are like, I'm not thinking I'm on your level. But it's always competitive. Whereas here it's like, yeah, it's competitive, but people are so accepting.
It's healthy competition though.
But they're so willing to sit down and say like, I know you can do this and I'm going to show you how to do the movements and then we're going to go. And then they cheer you on. Like I've never been in a gym where they literally create a circle around you to cheer you on for your bench press. Right.
Yeah. That is dope.
Max effort days.
Effort days are amazing. Yep. And they're just like, just watching it, it's contagious. Yeah. I mean, I think at the time I joined the gym, that was something I desperately needed in my life. I worked in corporate office at the time and corporate world is great, but it doesn't have the warm, fuzzy feelings, right? It's like straight to the point. People are mean. Yeah. And I was fairly new in my career at the time. And, what do I know compared to what the directors know? Yeah. And they let you know that you don't know anything. Yeah. So, I needed something that was a positive in my life. Yeah. And so I think, not just the power team, I think I see it in the basic training classes. I see it in the superset classes. I see it anytime groups get the small group training, like, oh, you don't know how to do this? Let me help you. Yeah. Right.
And it's the same. And I know that I did say female energy, but it's the same across the board.
Across the board,
Males, females, I think it's the exact same. I've never had any bad interaction or negative interaction with anybody in that gym.
Yeah, no, I went to Texas, right, a few weeks ago, and used a couple different gyms there. One was just like, I can't come back here. The smell, I just couldn't.
It's like grungy?
It was like someone had thrown up and no one cleaned it up for months.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was like you wanted to wear a mask. Like you really wanted to wear a mask.
Grungy and there's disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it used to be this real prestigious gym, so no one takes care of it. And then I went to this really hoity-toity, like just uppity, like country club type gym. And I was doing bench press and this guy comes up to me and he goes, "That's a lot of weight." I know, thank you. And he's like, "Do you really think you should be lifting that much weight?"
Oh,
and I said, "Well, I can. I just did 8 reps." And he's like, "I couldn't do that." And I was like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Like, damn right.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Like, and that's just like, I've never had that experience at FS with a male or a female.
Yeah.
No.
Never with anybody. Like, if anything, people are like, "That's awesome. Way to go."
Hell
Right?
yeah. Hell yeah.
Like, and here at this gym, and it wasn't just him. I also had like one of the trainers at that gym was like, "Oh, I've never even used that bar. It was a Cadillac bar."
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
"Why?"
Yeah.
This
Seriously.
is cool. And she's like, "I don't think I could lift the bar." I'm like, "Okay, well,
Fucking try.
I know." Like, you can do it. That's what I said. I said, "You can do it. You could probably do anything."
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem with a lot of gyms is it just the intimidation factor. Nobody is open and receptive to learning because they feel like they're being watched and judged.
What's funny too is like I hear some people that have either been there and like don't come back, or maybe when they started they're like, "Oh, FS is intimidating," and it's like it's a grungy like garage style gym, but it's one of the most loving, open, and like accepting environments I've ever been in, and I fucking love that. And then whether you're, we have high school, college, professional athletes, we have kids, we have powerlifters, we literally
MMA
have
fighters.
MMA fighters. I've got everything, and the common ground is everyone that is there is trying to get better, and like to have that common ground there too, where there's no real judgment and everything, is a very like healthy and valuable place to have. The downside is like I just went to Washington like 2 weeks ago, and every time I leave town now, I look for a gym similar to like that, but I've yet to find anything that lives
Me
up
either.
to
I do the same
standards.
thing. I'm like, where in Tacoma, Washington, can I find a decent gym?
I need some turf. I need some specialty bars. I need all that shit.
And that's the thing, right? Is some people come and they look at it and they're like, "Oh, what's so special?" Or they look at it and they're like, "Oh, it's just a grungy gym." Like, well, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it really is a gym that's really invested in the right tools to have for all different types of activity.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't know many gyms that have the boxing station like we have upstairs, or the FS has upstairs, and a turf, and all the weights, and all the specialty bars that we have. I don't know of a gym that has all of that in one.
Yeah.
Even the huge gyms, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was the first one I'd found in my lifetime that had everything I wanted, where I didn't have to go multiple places.
Well, when I go out of town, Devin's planning my deload when I go out of town. This is deload week.
Yeah.
So let's go to the hot topic.
Okay.
The topic that kind of hurt a lot of people's feelings in regards to one of the podcasts we had last month or something. We talked about fat people, or the word fat people was said, and it seemed to hurt a lot of people's feelings, primarily people at our gym.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to understand that.
Yeah. So I'll give you my perspective. I haven't talked to anybody else who'd listen to it.
Okay.
So I can just give you my
there was
perspective.
3 other people that listened.
Starting small.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I listened to the podcast actually after you told me that people were not so happy. So I was prepared slightly, but I have to say that when I heard, I think it was like minute 17, and I only know because I went back to re-listen to see if I had the same reaction that I had. My unfiltered, immediate emotional reaction was like anger.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was like, I think I felt like a little bit of like the trust, like breaking, right? Like, and I was like, wait, these are people I know. These are people that I've worked out with. These are people I talk to like on a weekly basis at minimum. Like, why would they say something like that? Like, and so I had my immediate emotional reaction, and, I'm one of those people where I think yes, I'm responsible for my own emotions, right? And I have the ability and the strength and the aptitude to change my emotions. At the same time, I also think there's accountability for things people do and what they say.
Yeah.
I also think and I think those are 2 very distinct things that also play a role in a very big gray fuzzy area where people are entitled to say whatever they want to say, and I have to choose whether or not I let me have an emotional reaction. So once I walk through my process of saying, okay, I feel upset about this, right? I need to figure out why. Yeah. Like, I need to digest this and figure out why I am upset about this. And I did. And I think a lot of it has to do with like my history, right? So I explained a little bit that, I had, I've always been overweight. always had people use the term fat, usually in a negative, condescending way. And so I think that's it, like triggered those emotions that I've experienced in the past. And then I had to sit down and think like, okay, I know these people. Like I worked out with Ryan for a long time as a coach and a trainer. I know you from the gym, Mike, for quite a while. And like, I know these people well enough to know what they meant versus what was said. Yeah. So once I worked through that process, I was able to sit down and digest like, okay, now really, why do I feel like it's inaccurate? So I think the thought was not really finished.
Yeah.
I think it was like 3-minute conversation total. And I don't think that intentions were clearly expressed. So I think that's one reason why I had the initial immediate reaction. I think that oftentimes the term fat, especially for women, and obese and unhealthy are all grouped together to mean the same thing.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it's generally used, and I know that men experience the same things, right? Being fat shamed or, discriminated against because of their weight. I think for women, you will not be successful in life, at least my generation. You will not be successful in life if you look this way.
Yeah.
You will not be of value to society if you look this way.
Yeah.
You will not be a good mom. You won't be, this, you won't be that. Everything around your weight and how you look plays a huge part in what you are able to contribute to society. And I think, you talked a little bit about the body positivity movement and you called it a fad. I was like, okay, I want to do some research on this because I don't even know where this came from. And I've only heard the term used over the last couple of years as well. So how can I speak to something if I don't know anything about it? So I did do some research. It actually started in the 1960s by a male who was tired of his wife being teased, made fun of, discriminated against for being overweight because he loved her just the way she was. And so he found an article that had been written a few years earlier by another male about, it was I can't remember what it's called, but it was like the fat people movement, right? So they're really trying to create this concept that, yes, these people may or may not be fat, right? Based on your opinion. But that doesn't really matter, right? Like what matters is that they're human and we should treat them with respect and give them the same access as everyone else.
Yeah.
And so that kind of kicked it off. From there, it just excelled. And then social media really like took off and it's kind of been twisted and it's definitely not a perfect movement. No movement is a perfect movement, right? I think, one thing that they lack is inclusivity. Their primary focus is overweight white women. And where in the past of this full history of this movement, there has been more inclusivity for African-American females. And that with the rise of social media kind of fell out of the limelight. And they've since over the last year or 2 years been trying to correct the inclusivity issues. And I think at the end of the day, it was triggering, right? So the comments were triggering. And I had to sit and really think like, what did they mean? And I think what you guys meant was it's hard to look at people who are unhealthy, who do nothing, who have no desire to do anything. And they want people to cater for their inabilities to do day-to-day activities. And I understand that perspective. I think where my perspective differs a little bit is then why? Like, I want to know why. Why do people not want to do the activity to lose weight or go to physical therapy so they have the ability to walk in for long distances? Or, why don't they want to? And I think, Mike, you and I talked about this a little bit over text is, well, maybe it's an access issue, right? And we think of access as not just the ability to get something, right? But the ability to also be included in something. Yeah. And so for a long time, like people who are overweight, they didn't want those people in the gyms. Yeah. Right? They don't want people to like that to be part of the group. You also have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. There's a lot of inner city store locations who actually, and people who don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. Yeah. Right.
Well, when you see shit too, like you can go get a a 10-piece nuggets for like $3 or something like that. But then if you want to get
healthy,
one organic apple, that's like $4.
Yeah.
And it's like the trade-off on that is insane.
Yeah, I bought apples for $20 the other day, a little bag.
Yeah.
Because I have the means and the access, right? I have the financial access. I have the stores right around the corner from me. My store gets fresh fruits and vegetables. Those are all things that are access. And then you talk about athletics, right? Yeah, anybody should be able to get up, go outside and run. For some people, it's not safe. Right? Yeah. They live in neighborhoods where it's not safe to go outside and run. Yeah. You have people, it's like, okay, well then do exercises in your house. Yeah. Some people live in 125 square foot houses. Yeah. Right? And so they don't have that access. They don't have access to a gym, right? Like,
well, let's talk about the younger generation though. Let's talk about, and this is where kind of, I think our concern is like the younger generation. Like, say, take an 18-year-old girl who's 30 pounds overweight. For no reason. She doesn't have children. She's 30 pounds overweight. She's depressed. Her skin's stretching. Her clothes don't fit. She has no motivation to go to the gym. That's the danger zone because there's no reason having a person like that with access, and they just get to a point where, I don't want to say laziness, but this identity crisis within themselves stops them from, and then they start to justify, well, I'll just deal with this later, something like that. That to me is the danger zone.
I'm tired, I'm busy, I don't feel good.
Yeah. And because not only are you dealing with potential future health problems, now you got psychological issues. If your genetics have health issues, like say this person's grandparents have heart and lung issues, this person's parents have depression issues, that type of thing. Those are the type of people I think that we were really talking about. This new where I called it a fad, because it's like you got these people that are claiming to be big and beautiful, which is fine. Again, that is a loose term. I'm not saying people aren't big and beautiful, but the fad of justifying an unhealthy lifestyle for that reason.
Well, I like what you said a couple minutes ago too, when you said after you like digested and everything and had your follow-up response. I think that's a lot more accurate to what we had intended. And to be honest with you, I don't even fully, I'd have to go back and watch it to know what the exact comments were. But I know I'd said something about seeing like a lot of overweight people at and like more than overweight, like very, very large at a restaurant. And my thought process is more so like, there's a lot of a difference between people that are actively like trying to do something about it versus like, you know, you see someone that's like 500 pounds in an electric scooter and their shopping cart is full of Oreos and Kool-Aid and shit like that, and they just don't give a shit. Yeah. You know, but like that's where it's more like your health, I feel like, for me at least, it should be a priority, because once health declines, everything else in your life is going to be harder too. Yeah. You know, and you get to the point where it's like, if you can't get up off the couch or walk or something like that, then it's like, you can't see the like, today's a fucking beautiful day, and if you can't even go out and see the sunlight or something like that, or you have kids and you're not able to like walk around the house, one lap around the house tires you out or some shit. That's the stuff to me where it's more like, what the fuck? You know?
So I'll go through that. So I think the base issue, right? You talked about people who are unhealthy and overweight, and they maintain that lifestyle and they don't want to change. You know, I've been there. I've been in that position. I've, you know, lost, 50 pounds and gained back 75 pounds. Right. Yeah. And every time I tried to restart, I would just sit there and be like, today's the day. I'm going to go on my diet. I'm going to go to the gym and exercise. And I'd maybe get one of those things done. And then the next day I'd miserably fail. And I'd be so disappointed in myself and so ashamed that I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to acknowledge the failure. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, especially people who are dealing with depression, anxiety, stress, they're already in this position where they're overweight. They don't like how they look. And then they continue that lifestyle that leads towards them continuing to either not look like that or gaining more weight or being unhealthy. I think a lot of that has to do with the psychological position that they're in. Yeah. And I think the best thing that we can do for people like that is listen, understand how they got to where they are, understand, the barriers that are currently in their way right now. And then ask questions. What do you need to move forward? Yeah. What do you need to, get to where your goal end state is. Like, what are your goals? Do you have goals? Have you thought about, how you want to, move forward with life?
Yeah.
Are you concerned about your health? Like, I think having an inquisitive mindset is not only the key to understanding people, but it's the key to growing as individuals ourselves, right? Yeah. I think the other piece is too, our physical selves and our emotional selves are two separate things.
Yeah.
And our emotional self will always sabotage, for me, always sabotages the process. But it doesn't mean that my emotional self is any less valuable to society or the world because my physical self isn't in prime state or where it really should be and where I want it to be. And I think that's where terms like obese, fat, unhealthy really have negative context, because people think that what you're saying is you as a person, your value is less because you're unhealthy, because you're fat, because you're obese. And I think going back to our conversation earlier is women especially have experienced that. I remember from the time I was 12, the doctor was telling me I needed to lose weight because I was fat or I was obese. Mm-hmm. And, having the experiences at school and, wanting my mom to help me lose weight, but then being mad when she held me accountable. Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't have cookies? And, watching, myself through a lens of, I want to look this way, but I also want to feel this way. And at that time, because I couldn't feel that way through exercise or through healthy ways, I did it through unhealthy ways. Yeah. Right. Which food triggers, especially high sugar food triggers that response in your brain where it feels good. Yeah. Right. And that's a hard addiction to get rid of.
Yeah. Sugar's a fucking drug.
It is.
It really is. And
well, and that's kind of, I think that was kind of our point, is that rather than, and I totally agree with what you're saying, but my perspective is we can't always coddle these people. We can't allow them to justify this unhealthy lifestyle just because it makes them feel good, because we know down the road it's going to make them feel fucking worse. Like, you take a teenager who's, 40 pounds overweight, where's this person going to be in 5 years? Because they're justifying it now. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, I'm big and I'm beautiful. I'm happy. I'm proud of where I'm at, which fine. Love yourself. And I've said this multiple times, love yourself enough to be healthy, whatever that is, but at least be conscious of your health, because in 5 years or 10 years, you're not going to be fucking healthy anymore.
Right. I mean,
and that's kind of what my point is.
I think it's all about your relationship with that person and how you approach it and their mindset and like what they need to motivate themselves. And I think it's back to that question. What are your goals? Yeah. Like, oftentimes, I think the other thing is being body positive isn't about a lifestyle. It's not saying, oh, you're fat, love yourself and always be that way. What it's saying is body positivity is, I am who I am right now in this moment. I'm going to love myself and not use negative words to critique myself constantly, because all I'm doing is putting myself down. Yeah. And when you do that, then all you do is you get in this perpetual state where you're constantly doing negative self-talk. Yeah. And then you go into negative response, which is fine. I don't care anymore. I'm going to love myself and eat all the Oreos I want and do whatever. Right. Yeah. I think body positivity is about saying, I love myself right now. I'm an intelligent, smart, amazing human. I'm beautiful. And I have goals in life. And my goals right now are, I want to be healthy and I want to eat a balanced diet. Like, that's something simple and one thing we could all start on and strive for, right? Sure. I'm going to use food as fuel and not as, as comfort, right? That's my goal right now. Like, I think saying things like that is important. I think understanding too where that person is in their life, because there are people in this world who do get severely depressed and have, clinical diagnoses, and they're physically unable to do anything. Yeah. And so their goals may be very different than goals like yours and mine. I mean, I've had people come to me as a hairdresser, right? And their hair's matted because they haven't combed out their hair in a month. Wow. Because they're so depressed, all they do is sit and do nothing. I think, how do we acknowledge that person's current mental state and then help them in a way that's productive?
Would you say that the fuel that they're putting in their body has a lot to do with their mental state, or some to do with their mental state? Because we talked about sugar. Sugar is a fucking drug.
Yeah, I definitely think sugar, again, it goes back to that self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're in that sugar withdrawal, and I've gone through sugar withdrawal multiple times, caffeine, like
Same.
it's not fun.
Yeah.
And it is so easy, and society makes it so simple.
Sugar's in everything.
To go and get.
Too.
Yeah.
The dollar store has a bigger candy aisle than even the grocery store does, right?
No doubt.
I mean, it's so easy to sabotage yourself and to give in when it's hard if you don't have the structure put in place and the support system put in place. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this world too who don't have a support, right? And they don't know how to ask for help. They're too embarrassed, whatever the situation may be, or they just don't want anybody in their business. Right? But, I think the one thing, if anybody could walk away from anything that we're saying here today, I think the most important thing is weight is one thing. Who you are as a person is completely different. Yeah. And your value is completely different. People are inherently valuable, right? And I think our value really comes from how we treat others, how we help others, how we help society, and how we contribute and protect our world and our environment, right? How do we contribute? That's our value. Yeah. And I think, then you have your goals, right? Which may live right in between the two. Yeah. Yes, you're valuable. Yes, you have your physical self, which you're not happy with, and you've created goals to work on your physical self. Good for you. How can we support you? Yeah. Do you need me to, I had a friend, and she's like, just come to the gym with me every morning for a week. Just get me started on cardio. I can do that. Yeah. And I did it for a few weeks and kind of failed miserably the last few weeks because I've been exhausted. But, I think when people ask for help like that, it's like, yes, yes, I'm there to help you. I'm there to help you reach your goals. Yeah. And I think that's the best way is people that we can contribute is, acknowledging that. And then I think, Ryan, like you said, the food pyramid and all the education it's government run, right? And I've always questioned whether or not those standards are built on fact or profits.
I was gonna say, to what degree do they really give a shit? Because big farming and everything like that, and the food industry as a whole and everything, there's a lot of money that runs through there. And
same with the pharmaceuticals. So when people are sick,
well, it's create the disease, create the cure for the disease, and then it goes.
It's a cycle, right? Yeah. And I think there's a lot of. I mean, you look at the lists of foods that are approved in America and the foods that are approved in Europe. Yeah.
It's wild. We actually talked about this at one point, I think, too. If one I remember vividly is just ketchup. The difference between the UK ketchup and the US version of just Heinz. It's the same brand and everything. The list is this thick on the US one, and it's maybe 5 things on the UK.
Tomato.
Right. Real ingredients, right? Yeah, we don't have the greatest rules in place to protect people from preservatives and artificial ingredients.
Yeah. When if stuff can be made at a cheaper cost and, they can still make their profits or even more profits because it's made at a cheaper cost, they can get out there, mass produce and everything, then again, to what degree do those people give a shit? Because they don't the CEO. I'm probably never going to meet the CEO of Heinz or something, so they don't care if I'm eating their ketchup or whatever else, but if that product can still get put out there and everything.
Absolutely.
It's wild. Also, there's a lot of products. I've only ever lived in the U.S. I can only speak on that aspect, but that are around today that I know weren't around in the 50s and stuff like that. The amount that we push vegetable oils and stuff like that, seed oils and everything, and all that stuff is shit. The modern American diet is wild, and how easily you can abuse it too. We've probably all heard the whole stay on the outside of the grocery store rather than the inside. But when you look at the inside, that now. Yeah, I say
you got croutons hanging over the salad.
Yeah, right. But it's
candy at the checkout.
If you think of the percentage for what's in a grocery store, I would say that maybe 15 to 20% is an actual food, and everything else is a food product.
Yeah. Yes.
And how much of that shit is coming from genetically modified corn.
Well, and then going back to what we were saying earlier, the financial aspect of it. All the fucking good shit is
your whole foods are the most expensive.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because it's a lot less effort that goes into making them. Not all of them, but a lot less effort than putting multiple products together, making sure they're, safe and then selling them, right? Whereas
safe, FDA approved.
FDA approved, I think then you have you know, like things like apples, which take a little bit more farming. And then you also have all the pesticides they spray on everything. But at the very least, they're a whole food, right?
Yeah.
And
ideally you could go like, and it all depends on where you live too, but like if you could go farm to table, and not everybody has the financial being or the, you know, if you live in an area where like you can grow your own apples or vegetables or whatever else too. But I think the more of that you can do, the better for you. I'm trying to start growing just like something simple like carrots in my backyard now and everything. And I don't know, the more you can contribute to that and know where everything is coming from, the better. I want to start trying to hunt and everything too. And the idea of that threw me off when I was younger. So I was like, I don't want to kill an animal, but it's like at the same time, how primal.
It's the healthiest meat to eat.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I got some elk from a member at the gym a while back, and I was loving that shit. Like, I hadn't had elk before, and to make burgers out of it and everything, it's so clean, and it was money. Loved it.
It's not an animal that's been stuck in a warehouse with no light.
It's
pumped full of cortisol and fear.
Well, and all the stress. Sucks. Think of how our muscles get and everything when we get stressed out or we have whatever else happening in our lives. And you have something that grew up in a factory where it's shoulder to shoulder with everything else.
And they just treat him like the way that they...
horrible.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention the mass production of meat is actually one of the largest contributors to environmental change, right?
Yeah.
And our... people call it global warming, but you know, the gases that are produced in those farms, it is a lot for those areas.
It's more than humans
the
put
environment really can't handle,
you
know, that for a long sustained period of time. And all you're going to see is more droughts, you know, more crazy winters.
Yeah. Shay, have you ever seen those pictures of like how much stuff would be eliminated from our shelves if the bee population died off?
Oh yeah. Fuck.
And they're trying to make like genetically modified, like artificial type bees, and I'm like,
Jesus,
why
don't we just stick with the real ones?
And you know, the problem is like a fear factor, right?
Yeah.
People are scared of bees. I've never been stung by anything, bee, hornet, nothing.
Nice.
If you ever want to see me run really fast, have a bee chase me.
That's my sister.
But yeah, I mean, as I had bought my own house, right, and had to do my own yard work, I've gotten more and more comfortable with bugs and bees and things like that. And if you just leave them alone, they're fine.
Yeah. Except yellow jackets. Fuck
no,
they're
mean, and they have yes, they're carnivores, and they break things down, and they help us with that kind of stuff. But
I think
they're evil, and they will chase you.
Yeah.
But
you have to get close to them before they do that.
So, I don't know. They've gotten close to me, and I'm like, "Fuck you, get away from me."
And then there's my daughter who has no fear and will smash him with her hand, and I'm like,
"That's bold."
I'm like, "What?" She's been stung like 3 times doing it. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I was in the car. I was just trying to kill it." I'm like, "Jump out of the moving vehicle and run."
A lot more logical.
But no, I've never been stung. And yellow jackets are worthless. Yes.
Yeah. So we're kind of coming to an end. We got an hour down. Is there anything else that you want to add? You got any more questions? Any other comments?
The only other one I have, I feel like would dive into a longer topic, because I was just curious about like the teen pregnancy with Ellie and everything, and how that had affected you, like being a mom, still being a teenager, and how it is like to this day and everything too. Yeah.
Bless Ellie's heart. She had a hard childhood. That's why I gave her everything possible in her teen years, which also was not good. So I had Ellie when I was 16, almost 17. I got pregnant when I was 16. Ellie's dad and I had been together for about a year. It was typical teenage relationship. Probably not typical. It was a very unhealthy relationship.
It was a teenage relationship.
I mean, it started off like we couldn't be we're inseparable. And it couldn't separate us to save our lives. Like, we were both miserable. And then he, like the pivotal point was he went to Chicago for a week to visit his family, and he came back, and in my mind, like the relationship was different. Like he was different. The relationship was different. And it was
before or after you'd had her? It
was before.
Gotcha.
And so I think for me, there was a lot of emotional abuse going on. I don't think just on his part. I think, I definitely have the ability to be very manipulative, and at that age I was definitely really good at it. And I made him feel bad for things that probably were not necessary to make him feel bad for, and he would be manipulative by taking my birth control and throwing it away. And then that was at the time where it wasn't really easily accessible, so then he had to make an appointment at Planned Parenthood, go in, and it was just you were stupid and kids, and so I got pregnant. And once I got pregnant, then he was definitely done. Like he was done. He didn't want to do anything. And actually towards the end of my pregnancy, he told me that he had actually gotten another girl pregnant. Yeah, that was fun. And so then I sobbed pregnant, like this giant and pregnant. And he's like, oh no, I was just mad and I was just saying things to hurt your feelings. Okay. No, he did. He definitely did. Ellie has a brother that's 5 or 6 months younger than her.
Wow.
Yeah. But
have they met?
Yeah. I had to tell her in high school and when she got to middle school, because that's when and he lives in the area, and I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, the boy you just brought over, that's your half brother.
Yeah.
Wow.
And have her feel weird about that.
Yeah.
So I told her early on in middle school, and so she's met him, and she's got another half sister. She actually has 6 half siblings.
Damn.
Yeah. I learned.
Yeah.
And him not so much.
Yeah.
That's a good body count right there.
But so that was hard. I don't think I could have done it without my mom. I was very convinced I was going to be the best mom ever at 17. And I'm going to tell you right now, teenagers need 10 hours of sleep for a reason.
Yeah.
I did not get that. I got 8, but I was lucky to get 8.
Yeah.
Because my mom would come and take Ellie in the middle of the night because I would just lay there and let her cry. And so I definitely couldn't have done it without my mom. She pretty much watched her for the first probably 2 years of her life, 3 maybe. And then I moved to Portland. And that's where I grew up, oh, I don't have mommy here anymore to help raise my child.
Shit got real.
I have bills. I have things I need to hustle. I can't just not work. I've got to work as much as possible. And I can't keep living this way. And that's where, I transitioned and did a career change and for the better. And I'm very happy, but it was hard, I think the difference between having a kid when you're 16 and 17 is when you're still a kid yourself. So you don't even know who you are as a person, let alone a parent.
Yeah.
And patience really kicks in at about 26, 27, 28. And before that, your ability to just fly off the handles is pretty decent. And so, Ellie and I grew up together, and I think that was hard once she got to her teenage years, because then she still wanted me to be her friend and her buddy. And I'm like, your parent, so I'm going to tell you, no, you can't go over to the boys' house and spend the night. You're 13.
Yeah.
And, I was mean. I was horrible. I got, she yells and screams, and it's interesting. Nice thing. I'm 36 and I'm not done parenting, but she's self-sufficient in her own place. And so I can hopefully kind of do everything backwards, whereas most people build their career and then have kids. Mm-hmm. I got to have a kid. Now I'm continuing to build my career. So, any
plans for future children or no?
No
go.
She's like,
one and done.
I like adult children. That are grown up and done. This is great.
Yeah. Respect. Nothing wrong with that.
Sometimes I'm far too honest for children.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've learned in my lifetime that some things need to be said, some things don't need to be said. And I've learned the hard way. And I think with kids, those things that don't need to be said that you say anyways, can be really harmful to who they are later on.
Yeah. Well, shit, it's like you talk about with the teacher and everything, with the candy thing. And at 36, you remember that years later.
Yeah. 10 seconds from an adult to a child, and those, 10 seconds of words hurt.
Yeah.
Super bad. But yeah, no, it was interesting because when I had Ellie, for me, Ellie was my whole motivation for life, following that, having her. And part of it was her and my dad, right? Telling my parents I'm pregnant. That's a fun thing to do when you're 16, by the way. My dad looked at me and he goes, great, you're never going to be anything than a McDonald's employee.
Oh, geez.
Damn.
And I was like, no, that's not true. I'm going to be super successful and make lots of money. Yeah. And he's like, not with a child, you're not. Good luck being able to go to school. Daycare is expensive, diapers, and you have to pay for somebody else to do all these things. And I'm like, whatever, I'm going to do it. So right after high school, went to beauty school. I did fairly well as a cosmetologist. I just never, I always looked at it as a hobby and not as a career. And so I never had that earning potential that I could have possibly had. And from there, you know, my dad was like, oh, great. Now all you're ever going to be is this cosmetologist. You really need to go back to school. And, you know, it was hard to hear in the moment. But when I look back on it now, I'm like, that was like exactly what I needed to get to where I am today.
Yeah.
Because him and then having Ellie and being able to prove, you know, those comments wrong and to be able to excel my life and be able to provide for Ellie on my own. Not only that, but then also have the ability to start taking care of, you know, my family and helping them, you know, in ways I think was super rewarding. And I wouldn't change anything.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
Nice.
I look back and, you know, like I said, my dad's comments, super hard to hear, super necessary.
Yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes when people say those things to you in a way that's constructive and you have that trust with them, it really can change your life. Like, so
That's good.
it goes back to the, does it need to be said, yes or no?
Yeah.
When I train managers at my job, I tell them, okay, you have to think through these 3 steps. Does it need to be said? If yes, does it need to be said by you? If yes, does it need to be said by you right now?
Yeah.
If you answer yes to all 3 of those, good to go.
Yeah.
If you answered no at any step, stop.
Yeah. Nice.
So
real quick, when is your next powerlifting competition?
I am competing in the August 2022.
Ooh, local.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hell
I've already
yeah.
registered. They put it up.
Hell yeah.
Mike, the other Mike.
Yep.
And at the gym, he was like, Erika, they got it up. I was like, sweet. Went on, registered.
Yeah. So any state records in the under the belt for you?
So
Did you
I
get
was-
state records at
I
the first
did.
one? How many? Which ones?
well, I should have had 3.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the fact that the person recording the fact that it was a record forgot to record that my
yeah.
deadlift,
Yeah.
my best lift out of the whole entire meet, was not recorded.
Because so for anybody that doesn't know, you have to tell the judges it's a state record.
I watched Deb tell her all the
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Because we knew, regardless of what I lifted, all my lifts were going to be records because it was a new weight classification. And so, he just auto told her, and I watched him every single time auto tell her. And when I saw it didn't come up, I asked, and they're like, "Oh no, we looked at the roster, it wasn't marked." Okay, well, whatever. But yes, I'm hoping to at least beat my prior records, if not the current records. I haven't looked to see if anybody else's.
You get them.
My squat, they definitely beat that, but I got it. But yeah, I'm hoping to beat my last score.
Sweet.
Fuck yeah, August 2022. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.